So asanteni sana for coming. It's really nice to know the people around you support you. And today we're just here to have a conversation. So also a bit of background. We cover different topics. A lot of them we get it from your ideas, from your children. And we cover these topics monthly, and that then culminates into a webinar at the end of the month, on the last Thursday of the month. The last couple of months have really been rough on me. For those of you who know, my nephew hasn't been well. I'm happy to update that he's doing great. He is well on his way to recovery. And both the donor and the recipient, they're both doing well. So thank you so much. Most of you really supported us as a family. So I'm really, really thankful for the community of people I have around me. So that's just a bit of background. So technically what I've done is I don't work with the children online per se yet. We do physical sessions. But for the parents, we then do this online sessions. And this is just for us to learn together, to grow together. And all these sessions are recorded. And they are on our socials, especially YouTube for the long video. And then usually we share clips on Instagram and on TikTok. And we're also on LinkedIn. You'll pardon me, I'm in the analog digital generation. So sometimes I have to think through what the social media platforms are. But rest assured, I have a Gen Z who takes care of those needs. Karibu sana, Clara. Thanks for coming. Lydia, karibuni. Linda, karibuni sana. Karibu. Patience, karibu sana. Someone is read AI meeting notes. Karibu sana. Stacy, happy to see you. Vayo, Whitney, asanteni sana for coming. And I think we have enough quorum to start. It's 6:36. We usually endeavor to spend about an hour with you. Please note it's an interactive session. So you can put up your hand or just unmute and speak. It's a safe space for us as parents. I forgot to say I'm a mother of 4 children. Our oldest is 26. And our youngest is 17, 2 girls and 2 boys. So I have, I've been in this parenting journey and I continue to learn every day. So I think we'll just go ahead and delve into the topic. I wanted to ask, because I shared this joke with the producer earlier, who knew what neoparenting was before they saw this poster? Just by show of hands or in the chat, who knew what neoparenting is? You can unmute and say, Hili karibu. If you knew what neoparenting is, what it means, what it's about. Anybody? Anyone who knows or knew what neoparenting is? You can also type it in the chat. And I maybe I should start with a small story even as we wait to see who knows about neoparenting. So for those of you who know me, I grew up country. So, and this is, I'm just gonna draw the picture for you. So I was barefoot until age 10. I know how to milk a cow with my eyes closed. I can pluck tea with my eyes closed. I know how to plant, how to weed and harvest maize and beans. I might not know how to plant carrots and potatoes and veggies, but I'm very good with tea, plucking, planting, taking the cuttings and making seedlings. So that's how I grew up. And we grew up in an era where your mom and dad told you what to do. Or sometimes if you woke up and found a djembe, you knew that day you were going to dig. Or if you saw the baskets that we used to pluck tea, you just knew today we're going to pluck tea. Sometimes you didn't get like some kind of brief, like, oh, you're going to do this. You just saw the tools and you knew what you needed to do. If it was evening, we had to go and fetch firewood. Usually we did that along the road. We fetched firewood and also vegetables. Managu is a weed, so you can get it along the road. So we would take the maize and dry it in the morning and then go to the posho mill in the evening. And there was a lot of balancing that I had to do. Sometimes I look back and I don't know how I managed, like getting the firewood, getting the veggies, and then going to the posho mill, coming back, locking down the chicken, the goats, the sheep, and the cows. And if I was on milking duty, then of course bringing the napier grass and then milking, making sure the cow didn't kick the milk because you'd get in trouble for that. And then cooking dinner. I don't know if that's how I became a morning person, because usually I can't be up after 9, because we used to wake up very early at about maybe 4, 5 a.m. And this was how I was parented. So what happened when my kids were born, and as they got older, I used to wake them up very early in the morning because that's all I knew. You know, it's 4, it's 5, I wake them up. Now, what happens when you're in the city? You don't have a shamba for the kids to go to. So there's a time, and I've asked my kids to forgive me for this. I used to wake them up at like 4:35 and they would work out, like they would do some exercises and then we would get ready for breakfast and then we go to school. So is there anyone who knows what neoparenting is? I'm just trying to give a background. Karibu sana Happiness, and everyone else who has just joined us. Karibu sana Janet. Karibuni sana. Anyone who knows what neoparenting is? Wilma karibu. Demiana karibu. Anyone who can type in the chat what neoparenting is? Hailin karibu sana. Amy karibu. Good to see you. Benson karibu. Anyone who knows what neoparenting is? Karibu sana Janet. We're just gonna check on the chat. Stella wants to join the meeting. Okay, that's fine. If you don't know what neoparenting is, just like me, Stella, good to see you.
Hey,
So
how are you?
I'm good. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Yes. So we're just going to start off with what is neoparenting. To be honest, I didn't know what neoparenting is. So when Stacy, my content manager and the everything person in EmpowerWiz, suggested neoparenting, I didn't want to look stupid. So I went and Googled. And I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. So I'll just I'll read for you. It's more like what I saw on the internet, and I realized I've actually been living it. So neoparenting is a mindset. It's not really a style, but it's really a mindset, and it's a shift from traditional parenting to modern parenting approaches that prioritize flexibility, individual needs, positive communication. And it's a shift from strict rules and other conventional or traditional methods, and it's a shift towards understanding and collaborative parenting. And that collaboration is what we're doing today as a community, just trying to come together to have this conversation and see what we can do better as parents. As I mentioned earlier, I have 4 children. They're all at different stages in their life. One is working, the other one is doing his internship, the other one is about to start college, and the last one is about to finish high school. So I'll tell you some of the aspects of neoparenting, and I think I've seen, yes, Wilma, thank you for that. Neoparenting is that, setting boundaries with love. Yeah. Some of us didn't even know what boundaries are, but we're learning from these kids. And I realized the kids are the best teachers for some of these approaches that we actually need to use. So the aspects of neo-parenting are positive reinforcement, and this is as opposed to punishment. So positive reinforcement is you are cognizant of what your child is doing right. An example is your child is not exactly getting A's, but they've progressed from a D to a C to a B to an A. So what do? You focus on the process and you positively reinforce the journey. Like tell them, I'm really proud of you, how you're able to stay up and do your revision. I'm proud of you from the feedback that your teachers are giving. I'm proud of you on the focus that you've put on the areas of improvement, as opposed to how I was raised, where you just showed up with a report card, and if it wasn't an A, some of us got beaten. Yeah? And there wasn't any discussion as to what happened before I got that D, or what happened before I got this grade. And then there were these teachers who just they would put these comments, needs to put more effort, or there's a teacher who wrote for me, very naughty. Okay, I was a bit naughty, but she didn't have to put that on my report card. So my dad back then was like, what is the meaning of naughty? I got a beating for that. So what we're saying is positive reinforcement is around realizing what your child does well, realizing that as an individual, each of us has a strength and we have areas of improvement. And if we're positively reinforced on the things we're doing well, then we're able to do better on those things. And some of those things then teach us skills that we can apply in all areas of our life. So the other thing, so away from punishment and we are in praise, encouragement, that's positive reinforcement. The other one is understanding and empathy, validating emotions. When your child is crying, you validate the emotion and say, how are you feeling? I'm sad because my pencil broke, or my toy, I can't fix my baby doll's hair, or the comb has broken, or the brush is not working, that kind of thing. So understanding and empathy focuses around also yourself, making sure that you're empathetic first to yourself and then to your child. Yeah, whatever they're going through, no matter how small it looks like, just being empathetic. The other thing is flexibility in rules and expectations. So you tailor your rules and expectations to your children. So this child, wakes up early, this one sleeps late. So you give them chores. You give morning chores to this one and evening chores to this one. Or so you don't punish the one who goes to bed late or the one who wakes up too early, but you leverage on their strengths and you're flexible with your expectations of both children. So that's setting individual goals and individual expectations, which applies even to us as adults. Yeah. So having an individualistic approach to how we raise our children. There is also open communication, and that means open dialogue, where you actually get your children's opinion on things. An example is, we're moving. What do you think? And the child says, oh, where are we moving to? We're moving up country. And they ask, okay, is there electricity there? No, there's no electricity. Okay, is there Wi-Fi? That's the one question you'll get from every child these days. Do they have Wi-Fi? Is there TV? And you say, no, there's no Wi-Fi. But then there's so much to do, so much fun to have. You get to understand how the farm works. We're going to grow a few things. We have chicken, we have cows, and you get them excited about this venture of transitioning up country. Well, maybe not, but at least you take time to explain, and that way you're communicating with them and dialoguing. The other one is on the active listening. So if a child has messed up, and you ask them what happened, we never got those questions when we were raised. We just got beaten, you cried yourself to sleep, and that was that. And so what we encourage to do with neo-parenting is actually talking to that child and actively listening to what they are saying. So try and hear them. Try and pick what emotions when they tell you there was a bullying incident at school, or when they've been reported by a teacher that they're in trouble. How do you engage the child in a way that you're actively able to hear their side of the story, and you can actually Lucia, karibu sana. If you could just mute, thank you. So that open communication and dialogue and active listening is very important for you to shift your mindset in terms of neo-parenting. There's also collaboration with others. So, and this was actually there back in the day when they said the child is raised by the village. That was collaboration. So today, as new age parents, you can collaborate. You can collaborate online like we do now. You can collaborate just in the neighborhood that you live in, where you ask other parents, okay, I have a child, they are going through this thing, and I don't know, how did you manage with your child, because your child is older. And you're able to share these tips that actually have worked for other parents. And that's what we do here at Empower With. That's what this webinar is about. Having conversations where we share tips, and then we also brainstorm and pull ideas on how to be better parents. The other one is a focus on self-care. And this self-care is both for the parent and also for the child. So please note, the self-care is for you and your child, not only for your child or only for you. This is the only way then we're able to actually grow with our children, and you show self-care by you teach self-care by showing how you do your self-care. You can start from the very simple things in terms of waking up in the morning, showering, your physical, working out, your mental, relaxing. I remember the only relaxation we had growing up was when you went to sleep. If my parents found you sitting, you were told, why are you idling? You need to be doing something. So I don't know if any of you grew up in this home where if your parents showed up, you just picked anything and pretended to be doing something. Like, you just have to be busy. You leave and go, you start washing the dishes, or you start rearranging things. You had to look busy. So what we're saying with neo-parenting is we need a mindset shift where we start doing our self-care in terms of rest and just being instead of always doing. Right? So while you're conscious doing your self-care, your child is observing, and they're also going to do your self-care the same way you do yours. So traditionally, this is what neo-parenting is not, and this is what parenting was. And you might have had these things from your parents. It was, I give you food, I take you to school, I take you to the hospital when you're sick, and you have clothes on your back. You were lucky if you had shoes on your feet. So those were like what a parent was required to do. Neo-parenting moves to security, where you have to give physical security, emotional security, safety, unconditional love. You have to, where now education was just going to school, now learning is expanded. It's expanded to financial literacy, and many other topics about like mental health. We are teaching our kids skills, life skills that will help them survive in this new world. And like when health was just basically you were given a good diet, and when you got sick, you went to the hospital. Now we have a holistic approach to health. So those are some of the things that characterize neo-parenting. I'm going to take a pause as I welcome everybody who's in. Karibu sana Naboth. Naboth, karibu sana. I'm just going to ask again, maybe we can, James karibu, Irene karibuni sana. I'm going to ask if anyone, Linda karibuni, Lucia, Lydia, Lynette, karibuni sana Madonna. I just wanted to ask, check for me on the chat if there's anyone who, I know Wilma said it's, setting boundaries with love. That's a big part about neo-parenting. So I'm just going to ask Stacy to post some questions. Stacy, we'll ask that you post one by one questions on the chat if you're able to, because some people are not able to both join the community and also be able to do the poll. So Stacy has just posted our EmpowerWiz community link. You can click on that. That's where we post EmpowerWiz information, and that's where we learn and grow with you. So Stacy, if you can just post the questions. I'll read the first one for those who do not have the benefit of maybe being able to scroll back and forth. Just give me a second. Stacy, are you available to read the question? I don't know. Stacy? Stacy, are you there? She might be in transit. So I think actually the first question was, what does neoparenting mean to you? What does neoparenting mean to you? Stacy, thank you so much for your support. I'll just go ahead and read them. I figure you might be in transit. What does neoparenting mean to you? So A, parenting with technology. 2, emotionally intelligent parenting. C, or 3, modern and flexible parenting approaches. D is, I'm still figuring it out. Honestly, I was in I'm still figuring it out, but I've done a bit of research, and actually with the ages of the kids we're raising, I've learned that it's a shift that I've had to make. So any of you who's able to post their answers, what does neoparenting mean to you? Is it parenting with technology? That's A. B is emotionally intelligent parenting. C is modern and flexible parenting approaches. And D is I'm still figuring it out. So you can put A, B, C, or D. So let's have you access the chat. And C, thank you, Lydia. Modern and flexible parenting approaches. Amy, thank you. She also says C. Joash, asante. Our 844 students. Hey, okay. You've been listening. Everybody has. Thank you, Wycliffe. He's being honest. He's still figuring it out. Thank you, Eileen. Everybody seems to be getting the right answer. Asanteni, who's afraid to put their answer because now everybody already has the right answer. But we cheated a bit. This question was supposed to come before we started, but that's fine. We'll challenge you a bit on the next question. So Wycliffe, we're here to figure it out with you. Thank you for being vulnerable and honest. Which of these challenges do you face most as a modern parent? A, managing screen time. Thank you, Lucia. Man, everybody has the right answer. So we're just on to the second question. Which of these challenges do you face most as a modern parent? Managing screen time. That's A. Talking about emotions and mental health. That's B. C is balancing work and parenting. And then D is keeping up with technology and trends. So I'm just going to repeat the question and the options, and you can start putting your answers in the chat. Which of these challenges do you face most as a modern parent? Managing screen time, talking about emotions and mental health, balancing work and parenting, or is it keeping up with technology and trends? What challenges you most as a modern parent? A and C, thank you, Lydia. Managing screen time and balancing work and parenting. I hear you. I totally hear you. Mora, Jacinta says B and C, talking about emotions and mental health and balancing work and parenting. Okay. We can see C is coming up. Let's have a few more answers. There's no right or wrong answer. Okay. Let's have a few more people. Wycliffe, it's your chance to get it right. There's no wrong or right answer. Or let me repeat the options. Which of these challenges do you face most as a modern parent? Managing screen time, talking about emotions and mental health, that's B. Balancing work and parenting, that's C. Keeping up with technology and trends. And it's okay to be struggling with all four of them. It's perfectly okay. Okay, Linda says for her it's A, managing screen time. Clara says it's keeping up with technology and trends. Me too. Amy, it's B and C, talking about emotions and mental health and balancing work and parenting. Patience is managing screen time and keeping up with technology and trends. And Happiness is talking about emotions and mental health and balancing work and parenting. And then Joy says it is managing screen time and keeping up with technology and trends. I want to be very honest. Myself, I'm actually struggling with all four of them. At different times, with the different ages of our children, I think if I had to choose the one that challenges me the most, it's B, talking about emotions and mental health. I think this is something we're all still trying to figure out. Agatha, thank you. C and D, yes, balancing work and parenting and keeping up with technology and trends. And I think by and large, most of us are struggling with one thing or the other. And how about those parents who have kids of all ages and you find yourself struggling, the younger ones managing screen time to teenage, the older ones maybe talking about emotions and mental health, and then yourself balancing work and parenting. If you have a really young child, they need you more and you're trying to balance, even the older ones really. And what about keeping up with technology and trends? Always finding out there's a new app. The kids have figured out a new way to use their phones. They know how to delete chat histories. They can use your phone without your knowledge. I just learned that for those parents who have iPhones, or maybe it's all Androids or smartphones, if you save your payment details on your phone, your child can go on and order anything and it's already paid for because your card details are already on your phone. So while you give them your phone to play with, they go ahead and order stuff. They order for games. So it's not merchandise that's going to be delivered to your house. It's a game they're ordering for. And you're paying for it and you don't know. So check your bank account. There's some, auto debits that are happening. So we're learning every day. Technology and trends is a big one. And we need to, I think if you keep the communication lines open, believe it or not, they'll teach you. They're willing to teach you. They laugh at you, but they're willing to teach you. Talking about emotions and mental health is a tough one. And I think mostly because we never received that. I never knew what emotional support was until I got older and I started going to therapy. I didn't know what emotional support was. I mean, all of us are still figuring out there is such thing as mental health. People who are ostracized in society, that it's actually a mental health issue they were having. Screen time. Screen time is hard even for us as adults. How do you manage screen time for your child when they're actually watching you, having a little bit too much of screen time? So screen time is also quite a challenge. So that question is for us to ponder over. I think, Stacey, you can still put them in the poll in the community and everyone can get a chance to put their choices. Karibu sana, John. I'm going to go to the third question. And once we're done with the questions, then we can go to, you can put your comments in the group and then we can deliberate on them. Thank you, Stacey. How comfortable do you feel talking to your child about difficult topics like grief and anxiety? How comfortable do you feel talking to your child on difficult topics like grief or anxiety and any other difficult topic? So A is very comfortable. B is somewhat comfortable. C is not very comfortable. D is I avoid it altogether. I don't do it. And I was saying earlier that I didn't know what emotional support was. I didn't know that someone would talk to me when we, thank you, keep, Gabriela, thank you, B, somewhat comfortable. Thank you very much. Yeah. Clara, wow, I want to be you, very comfortable. I love that. Maybe you can share with us tips. So we're gonna post what the choices are. B, John, somewhat comfortable. Good, you're making progress. Who else? Let's see. So we're oscillating between A and B. We have Clara at very comfortable, and then we have somewhat comfortable. And I have to admit, I used to avoid it altogether, but now I am between somewhat and very comfortable. Sarah says B, somewhat comfortable. This is encouraging. We have 3 B's, 1 A. It's quite encouraging. There is no right or wrong answer. All we're doing is having this conversation as parents, gauging where we are, and then trying to get tips on how to move. Thank you, Wycliffe. B, somewhat comfortable. Very good. So we have Amy, thank you, somewhat comfortable. I know parenting comes with a lot of self-doubt. So thank you. Nyaboke, B, that's good. Okay. B is playing a lot. This is very encouraging. Somewhat comfortable is a good place to be. And what we're here today to learn is that it's okay for us to actually find ways of having these conversations on difficult topics like grief. How many of you have lost a parent or a sibling, and maybe your kids were whisked away to an auntie, and then after the funeral they were just brought back and they were told you're going to school, and nobody talked to the kids about grief. Nobody asked, nobody even told them that their grandma had died, or grandpa, or auntie, or uncle. So you find that because the only way I knew that there was I needed to deal with some sort of grief is you got to learn there was a funeral, and then you get to hear later that, so and so died. But children in the traditional society were not involved in the grief journey. And this is something we need to learn. How do you grieve the loss of a pet with your child? Yeah. And this is a real scenario for them. You actually have to help them through the grief. And it's simple. Sometimes it's just basically holding them as they cry. That's comfortable. Not avoiding them, asking them to, do some art, maybe talk about how they feel on whatever it is that they're grieving. And grieving doesn't only come with death. Grieving can be loss of, you've seen children who are amputated. They've had to lose the use of one limb. They would be grieving not being able to play with their friends and all that. So grief comes in many forms. And for those of you who have grown children, you would be grieving not being needed. That's also grief, by the way. So asanteni sana for your answers. I think B is very encouraging for somewhat comfortable. And we're just going to go to 2 more questions, or 3. I'll go to question 4. Which life skill do you most want your child to develop early on, like when they're young? Is it emotional intelligence? Is it digital literacy? Is it critical thinking? Or is it independence? Clara says independence. I like that. And Clara is kunena na kutenda. She once gave me an example of how she taught her child independence, and I was totally amazed. So independence for Clara. Let's see what all of you think. Do you want your child to learn emotional intelligence early in life? Or is it digital literacy, critical thinking, or independence? Critical thinking for you, Gilbert. Gabriela says emotional intelligence and critical thinking. Eileen says critical thinking. I like that. More answers. And don't worry if some of these maybe you have a different meaning. Emotional intelligence is a wide topic. I think we will be discussing it later in maybe another webinar. Digital literacy is just basically, and I think this is what we might confuse with maybe like screen time, because you can have a lot of screen time, but it's just TikTok. How do we use technology to teach digital literacy rather than just screen time? Critical thinking skills, these are things you do every day at home, giving challenges and your child learning how to critically think. And then independence. Independence is, can your 2-year-olds feed themselves? Sarah, thank you. A and D, emotional intelligence and independence. John is A, C, and D. Emotional intelligence, critical thinking, and independence. That's pretty good. Amy is emotional intelligence and independence. I really like your answers. James is A, emotional intelligence. And actually, to be honest, I think at different stages of your children, you'll realize they need these things. If you teach your child independence at 2 years old, or you teach them at 5 years old, at the end of the day, the focus is to teach them independence. It's never too late. Josh says A and D, which is emotional intelligence and independence. And then Karen says critical thinking and independence. And Nyaboke says critical thinking and independence. Very good answers. All these choices are applicable. Matter of fact, you can teach all these things at different times. Just in the home environment, you can teach emotional intelligence. And I'll just give an example. You have 2 siblings. One comes home crying and the other one is in the house. The minute the other one comes home crying, this other one says, "You're such a crybaby. You just want mommy to keep babying you." How do you teach this child who's saying you're such a crybaby to be emotionally intelligent and not say that, and maybe give the sister or brother a hug and try to delve into what's going on with the child? So digital literacy, we have, just like we had delved into the other question, we need to understand what's healthy and what's unhealthy for our kids. Karibu sana to the new joiners. Karen, Caroline, Charity, karibuni sana. Beatrice, Annie, karibuni. So what you want your child to develop early on it's relative. So you can teach your child these things simultaneously. Yeah. Parents, you could say, I'm in IT, I'll take care of teaching the kids digital literacy. And you could say, as a mom, I spend most time with the kids, I'm teaching them independence, but you can ask the other parent on how to reinforce that. So simple things like a child being able to shower themselves, a child being able to feed themselves, dress themselves, the patience to allow them to button their shirts, zip their clothes, teaching them how to wear their shoes and do the laces. That's all little examples of independence. It doesn't have to be the big things. And once they realize you trust them and you're teaching them independence, then the rest is easy from there. So all these skills are important. And I think what we're saying is let's try and leverage on our children's strengths. Even you can have the older child teaching the younger children independence, and you can also have an older child teaching the younger children digital literacy. That's what collaborative parenting is about. That's what we are saying today, that neoparenting is not trying to do it all yourself, but really collaborating with all the partners in your life. We'll go to the second last question. Do you feel emotionally supported as a parent in today's world? Yes, I have a strong support system. B, it's also in the chat, somewhat, but it could be better. Not really. No, I often feel alone in parenting. This answers A. Yes, you have a strong support system. I'm happy for you, Gabriela. It's really important to build these support systems. And your support system is your house help, is your sister, is your brother, is your neighbor, is your mother, Support systems are your church, the teachers at school. Karen, thank you for that. Somewhat, but it could be better. Good luck. James, somewhat, it could be better. Yes. Wycliffe, also somewhat. Nyaboke says it's A. She has a strong support system. Wonderful. John says somewhat, it could be better. Eileen and Sarah and Linda do have a strong support system. Really happy for you. And Lucia. Damiana says somewhat, it could be better. And let me say this. I think when I was a younger parent, I was so judgmental to myself. I didn't want to seek support. So I guess I would then have said, no, I feel alone in parenting when my kids were like 2, 3, 4 years old. But now that I'm older, I do feel I have a strong support system, but it's taken some learning and learning, some growing, some reaching out, some being vulnerable. Asante sana, Lucia. A, you have a strong support system. That's great. So I think the A is everybody's, dream. How do we do that? Just look around you. There's people who are willing to support you, and everybody doesn't have to be able to do everything for you. If someone cannot watch your kids for you when you're traveling, maybe they can help them with their math homework. I had to stick my brother with my kids for their math homework because I didn't know half of those things. It's been a very long time since I did, primary school math. Yeah. And of course, it took me being vulnerable to my kids and letting them know I don't know how to do it, but my brother will help you. So vulnerability is a big part of building your support system. Do not be afraid to ask. And also, as you're being vulnerable, also teach your kids to also learn to ask for help in healthy ways. Give your kids contingencies. If I'm not home, you can call Auntie so-and-so. If I'm not home or there's a problem in the house, you can run to the neighbor. Give them those directions so that they learn that it's okay to ask for help. That's what a support system looks like. And let's be there also as support systems for those around us, whether it's your neighbor, your sister, your brother, your parents. Let's be part of each other's support systems. The last question is, how often do you include your child in conversations about feelings or decisions? Yeah? How many times do you say, we're looking to move, what do you think? So the options are all the time, occasionally, rarely, or never. Okay, Gabriela says B, occasionally. Yeah, you need to be selective because you might ask them if they want to go to Dubai or upcountry and they say, of course, Dubai. So sometimes you might not. Clara says all the time. Sarah also, and Lucia all the time. I'm happy for you guys. Gilbert says occasionally. Yes. Could also be to do with the age of your kids. James says occasionally. James, you and I are traditional parents, so we're still trying. Eileen says B, occasionally. Yes, that's okay. You're still trying. Anybody? Rarely? Wow, I'm really happy to see nobody's saying rarely or never. Eileen and Lydia, everybody is a B. Damiana is a B. Great. And that was our last question. Technically, these questions are just for us. They're thought-provoking questions for us to question our parenting and see how it fits into this Neoparenting approach. How are we flexible? Are we able to communicate with our kids? Do we encourage open dialogue? Do we positively reinforce? Do we leverage on their strengths? Or are we parenting them from where we parented? You'll allow me to go through the tips, and then you could please post your questions in the group. I'm cognizant of time, so I'll just go through the tips a bit quick, and then the questions can address both the content and the tips. So some of the tips, the very first one is self-parenting. How many of us have questioned how we were raised, gone to therapy, wondered what your parenting style was doing to your child, or watched what it was doing? I have friends and family who've told me I shouldn't have been so harsh to my kids. I shouldn't have demanded only grades. So what are they doing now? they are reparenting themselves and maybe being more supportive. And I'm one of them. I'm being more supportive to your children now around their emotional needs, supporting them around any challenges they're having. So how are you self-parenting yourself? How are you unlearning how you were parented and relearning how to do this approach called neoparenting? So that's one. There's I'll just go through the tips. There's conscious communication and presence, just being there with your child, learning what works for them and what doesn't. Do not let your perception become their reality. Your perception for success could be an A, could be a big salary, could be a big, role in an institution. Please do not let your perception of what success looks like become their reality. Try and understand what their perception of success is. And even failure in equal measure. When a child fails their exams, do not make your perception of your life is over become their reality. Let us unlearn those things that we were raised with and be more positive to our kids. There's, bad grades are not the end of life. Respond, do not react. And that's also attached to what was saying no with reasons, and also doing consequences versus punishment. Do not react, respond. Expose children to new things. That's by traveling, going online, meeting new people, learning new languages. Get vulnerable. Show them your fears. Talk about your childhood. Talk about the things you didn't like in your childhood. Delve with them what they think is, healthy, or what they like about the things you do for them. Talk to them about, the meals you hated and why you do certain things the way you do certain things. So get vulnerable. Vulnerability is a big part of neoparenting. Even about grief and anxiety. Tell them, show them how you grieve. Tell them you also get anxious sometimes. On their first day of school, let them know as a parent that you're also anxious that they're going to a new school. Yeah, don't invalidate their feelings. Show them love every day unconditionally. Instill gratitude, kindness, respect, empathy. Show your kids, tell them about special children. Show them how to interact with people who are challenged or abled differently. Yeah. So, and also gratitude. Tell them to say thank you to the house girl when breakfast is served. Tell them to say thank you for the littlest things and not wait for the big things. Replace can't with not yet. So if they want this and you tell them we can do that in December, just not now in May. Also, let's be cognizant of the fact that kids mirror what they see. Let's prioritize connection over perfection. Let's talk about mental health. And let's also know that children are worthy of respect and apologies. I want to underline apologies because my kids, if they were here, would tell you the first time I apologized, they might have been teenagers. So children are worthy of respect and apologies. Grades and achievements are not all they are worth. Don't make grades everything a child is worth. Then allow them to feel their feelings and let them know that all feelings are okay. So frustration, anger, anxiety, sadness. There's this tool on the internet. It's called the feelings wheel. You just Google the feelings wheel and you can always ask your child how they feel from that wheel. That is in good times and in bad times. If they're happy, ask them. There's also a feeling song which you can also teach kids to sing. I'll share that in the community. Teach them acceptance. So accepting who they are and that they're different and unique in their own ways, and that's how God created them. Love them unconditionally. Redefine beauty. This is a big one now in the internet world. What is beauty? Is it long nails, light-skinned, long hair? Is it, skinny? What is it? What is that notion you've had all your life about beauty, and how are you projecting that to your child instead of focusing on their uniqueness, on their character, letting them know that their self-care is part of their beauty and all that. Also use humor. Laughter is a superpower. So even when they mess up, find a moment to laugh with them. And then using tools like technology, music, play, travel, all of that is tips that you can use for your child. I wanted to read something that really I picked from an Instagram page I'm on. Hopefully you're all posting your questions. I'll just read this verbatim. The group is called Moms of Bigs. So basically moms of big children. Give me a second. Okay. So I like it because it talks about 4 kids, and I have 4 kids. So it says, I was driving up the hill that leads to our home the other day, thinking about my 4 kids, and I just started to cry. Because, each one of them is struggling with something that I can probably blame on myself, my lack of whatever, my too much of whatever, or what I modeled, what they absorbed from the said modeling. Too much helping, not enough just being, people pleasing, server complexes, workaholism, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, some things. As I dug a little deeper, it struck me that some of what they're struggling with has nothing to do with me. It comes from the fact that they're humans in a human world filled with all the human things. No one is not struggling. No one's life is up and to the right. No one doesn't feel the weight of the hard and the heavy. And my precious kids are part of that fragile humanity. One that is scary and gorgeous and awful and holy and every last thing in between. I thought when I had clarity in that moment that it wasn't all my fault, that the tears would dry up and I would pull into my driveway a little lighter. Instead, they flowed more freely and I had to stop and pull over, because this whole bringing into and trying to raise and watching our kids navigate this beautiful mess of the world that we all live in isn't for the faint of heart. It is such a huge risk. It needs so much bravery. It requires being able to sit in the struggle and cry tears on your way up your hill in your car. As I sat to the side of the curb in stunned silence, the salty drops navigating their way down my chin before I wiped them away, I couldn't help but think how so much of motherhood and fatherhood is done in the spaces where no one else is, where it's just us, all by ourselves, sometimes crying, oftentimes praying, all the time loving, not in the way we imagined at the start of it all, but in all the ways that matter in the end. This group again on Instagram is called Moms of Bigs. Please find it and join it. You'll learn a lot. It really spoke to me in terms of just seeing what each of our children is struggling with, but being able to celebrate the in-betweens. I'm trying to read the questions. I'll start. My eyesight is challenging me. Thanks for this really educative. Now, because Neoparenting advises parents become soft to their children as opposed to toughness of our parents, can Neoparenting then lead to weak parents and by extension, weak children? Thank you, Wycliffe, for that question. Again, I'm struggling to read. I don't know if the font can be increased, but I'm struggling to read. So Wycliffe, that's a quite interesting question. What is being weak? How do we define weakness? Is weakness For example, grieving in front of your children. No, that's not weakness. Showing your children that a loved one has died and that you're sad and you're crying allows them to also come home and cry and have you hold them as they cry because they know you are human. So I think it's subjective and relative in terms of how do you define weakness. Once upon a time, crying was a weakness. In fact, there's that old saying, you're a man, you can't cry. We all know that's not true now. We encourage our boys and girls and our men to also cry. Yeah. So let's try and not use words that maybe seem like we are disapproving how our kids are, that they are weak. Also, if it's grades, does it mean that when a child has a B or a C or a D that they are weak? Maybe their strength is in another subject. Maybe they are an artist or a sports person. So thank you, Weekly, for that question. A very thought-provoking question. Okay. I'm trying to read. Can I read that? Okay. There's no other questions. You can unmute and ask a question. Anyone? Oh, that's a note taker. Okay. Okay. Thank you. That got me. Any questions posted in the group, Sarah? I'm glad that I'm learning your parenting now that I'm raising a 4-year-old. This is quite helpful. Thank you, Sarah. And 4-year-olds are so cute. They ask you all the questions. They have like 5 or 6 whys. Mommy, why? Why do I need to go to sleep? But why? Because, so you have to really get creative with a 4-year-old. So asanteni sana. We're still open for questions. I think we can give it another 2 to 5 minutes. Comments. Sarah, thank you. Wycliffe, thank you. How can a parent be assertive without being harsh? I'll tell you something I learned. If you want to be assertive without being harsh, the first thing I learned is lower your voice. And if you have teenagers, they'll remind you, but mommy, why are you shouting? So the first thing you want to do, lower your voice. So they just messed up. Someone is screaming in their face. They've been brought to you. And just say something like, I want to know what happened. In a very calm voice. So don't do the usual, oh my God, you're going to kill me. I'm going to beat you into pulp. I'm waiting your father to come home. I really just want to say a big thank you for even joining the call at a time in the day when you would be relaxing, making dinner, spending time with your kids. Some of you might even be on the call with your... Please just know we really appreciate each and every one of you. Follow us on our social media, Instagram. Stacey, are we on Facebook? Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. What's the other one? Oh, and the WhatsApp community, my favorite. And TikTok. Yeah. I'm striving to do better, but I really want to say, and YouTube, these sessions, every webinar that we do at the end of every month are recorded. So if you just go to YouTube and search for Empower with Kenya, you will find the recordings and you can listen with maybe your spouse or your friends. And we are happy to take feedback. Also, Stacey, you can put my number in the group so that for those of you who would like to reach out personally with a topic, a suggestion, feedback, you can also do that. So just Stacey, just place my number in the group. It is 0700 306350. Asanteni sana. For those of you who joined late, worry not. It'll be on YouTube. It should be available in less than 3 to 5 business days. And we'll be glad to take any feedback, comments, questions. And we'll be more than glad for you to join our community of parents in Empowerwiz, where we're here to raise empowered children, teaching them life skills, learning and growing together. Asanteni sana. Have yourselves a great evening and a good night ahead.